Move your fake leg somewhere else, cripple. You're taking up space for real men. The gym bro's voice boomed across the weight room, loud enough for everyone to hear. The disabled man gripping the parallel bars didn't turn around. His prosthetic leg gleamed under the fluorescent lights, and his shoulders trembled, not from weakness, but from something far more dangerous. What these muscle-bound bullies didn't know was that they'd just insulted a Marine who'd lost that leg saving 6 soldiers in Fallujah. Peak Fitness Gym at 7 p.m. on a Tuesday was like a testosterone battlefield. The university crowd had claimed their territory around the free weights, their tank tops and backwards caps marking them as the self-appointed kings of iron and ego. In the rehabilitation corner, a man worked quietly on his physical therapy routine. Michael Torres, 34 years old, moved with the disciplined precision of someone who understood that every rep was a victory against pain. His prosthetic leg, a state-of-the-art titanium and carbon fiber marvel, caught the light as he steadied himself against the parallel bars. For 3 weeks, he'd been coming here. Same time, same routine, same corner. The whispers had started on day 1. What's he even doing here? This isn't a medical facility. Makes me uncomfortable watching him struggle. Michael heard every word. In Fallujah, he'd learned to hear everything. The whisper of wind through rubble that meant a sniper was repositioning, the subtle click of a pressure plate that meant death was 1 step away. Compared to that, gym gossip was white noise. But today was different. Today, the whispers had stopped being whispers. Yo, Prosthetic Pete. The voice belonged to Jake Morrison, 22 years old, business major, bench press personal record of 315 pounds, and the kind of arrogance that only comes from never facing real consequences. His crew flanked him like a pack. Tyler, the protein shake philosopher, Brad, whose personality was as shallow as his spray tan, and Marcus, who filmed everything for TikTok. Michael continued his exercise, focusing on the burn in his remaining leg muscles, the careful balance required to maintain form. In the Corps, they'd taught him that the best response to provocation was no response. But Jake wasn't finished. "Hey, I'm talking to you, Gimp!" The gym went quiet, not the natural quiet of focused workout, the uncomfortable silence of people pretending not to watch a train wreck in progress. Michael slowly turned around. Jake was exactly what you'd expect. 6 feet 2 inches, 210 pounds of gym-sculpted muscle, tribal tattoo sleeve, and the dead eyes of someone who'd never experienced real hardship. His friends stood behind him like backup dancers, phone cameras ready to capture whatever humiliation they were planning. "You're in my spot," Jake said, jutting his chin toward the parallel bars. "This is where real athletes train. Maybe try the senior center? They probably have equipment more suited to your limitations." The words hung in the air like smoke from an explosion. Michael looked at Jake for a long moment. In that silence, memories flashed. The weight of Sergeant Davis bleeding out in his arms, the screaming metal of the IED that took his leg, the promise he'd made to Davis's wife that her husband's sacrifice wouldn't be forgotten. "I'll be done in 10 minutes, Michael said quietly. Jake laughed, a sound like breaking glass. "Now, you'll be done now. This is a gym for athletes, not a charity ward. Your fake leg is freaking people out." A woman on the elliptical machine stopped her workout, her face flushed with secondhand embarrassment. An older man racking weights nearby shook his head in disgust, but no one moved to intervene. That's when Tyler decided to escalate. "Seriously, dude, what happened? Car accident? Diabetes? Let me guess, too many cheeseburgers and they had to amputate." The cruelty was casual, thoughtless, the kind that comes from never having witnessed real suffering. Michael's hands tightened on the parallel bars. The titanium of his prosthetic caught the fluorescent light, and for a moment, Jake saw something that made him step back, a flash of metal and carbon fiber that looked less like medical equipment and more like advanced military hardware. But Jake was too drunk on his own power to recognize danger. "What? Cat got your tongue? Or maybe the same thing that got your leg?" Jake's friends snickered, phones out, recording what they thought would be easy content. Michael straightened to his full height, 5 feet 11 inches of lean muscle and controlled fury. When he spoke, his voice carried the weight of authority that only comes from leading men in combat. "Son, you have exactly 10 seconds to walk away." Jake blinked, suddenly uncertain. There was something in the man's tone, not pleading, not anger, but the calm certainty of someone who'd delivered ultimatums before and followed through on them. But pride is a powerful drug, and Jake was overdosing. "Or what, pegleg? You gonna hop after me?" Jake pushed forward, invading Michael's space. "What are you gonna do? Call mall security?" That's when Michael smiled, a cold, predatory expression that would have been familiar to insurgents in Fallujah. "I'm going to teach you about respect." Michael reached into his gym bag and pulled out a folded piece of fabric. With practiced precision, he unfolded it. A Marine Corps flag, worn but spotless, the eagle, globe, and anchor emblazoned in gold. The gym fell silent. "This flag," Michael said, his voice carrying to every corner of the room, was draped over the coffin of Sergeant Ryan Davis. He was 23 years old. He had a wife named Sarah and a daughter named Emma, who was 2 when her daddy died protecting his brothers. Jake's smirk faltered. Michael continued, his voice steady but charged with emotion. "Ryan stepped on an IED while we were evacuating civilians from a bombed school in Fallujah. The blast threw me 20 feet. When I came to, my leg was gone, and Ryan was bleeding out 50 meters away." The woman on the elliptical had stopped pretending to exercise. The older man racking weights had turned to face them fully. Even the teenage kids who'd been taking selfies had lowered their phones. I crawled to him through enemy fire, dragged him to safety with a severed femoral artery and a compound fracture in my remaining leg. He died in my arms, but not before making me promise to take care of his family. Jake was backing up now, his face pale beneath his fake tan. "This prosthetic?" Michael tapped his titanium leg. "It's not a disability. It's a reminder. It reminds me that some things are worth losing a leg for, like protecting innocent people from bullies." Michael took a step forward, his prosthetic clicking against the rubber gym floor. "You see a cripple? I see a Marine who's carried wounded brothers through hell. You see weakness. I see a man who bench-pressed a burning Humvee off his squad leader while bleeding from 12 different wounds." Another step forward. "You want to know what real strength looks like? It's not lifting weights to impress college girls. It's holding your dying friend while mortars fall around you. It's learning to walk again because giving up isn't an option. It's coming to this gym every Tuesday for 3 weeks while listening to spoiled children question your right to exist." Jake hit the weight rack behind him, trapped. "You called me a cripple. You mocked my prosthetic. You questioned my right to be here." Michael's voice was still calm, but there was thunder underneath. "In the Marine Corps, we have a saying, every Marine is a rifleman. Know what that means?" Jake shook his head, speechless. "It means that before I was wounded, I could put 3 rounds in a target at 500 meters. It means I've survived in conditions that would break you in hours. It means that leg you're making fun of, I earned it serving a country that includes ungrateful children like you." The gym had become a classroom, and Michael Torres had become the teacher. "Tyler," he said, turning to the second bully, "you asked what happened to my leg. Here's what happened. I volunteered to serve. I signed up to protect people I'd never meet. I deployed to Iraq not once, but 3 times. On my final deployment, my unit was tasked with clearing IEDs from a school that insurgents had booby-trapped." Tyler couldn't meet his eyes. The children were coming back the next day. We had 12 hours to make sure they wouldn't die walking into their classroom. Ryan found the first device. I found the second. The third one found us. Michael's voice never wavered, but everyone in the gym could feel the weight of what he was sharing. "When I woke up in Landstuhl Medical Center in Germany, my leg was gone. But you know what my first thought was? Did we get them all? Are the children safe? Because that's what Marines do. We worry about everyone else first." Brad, the third member of the crew, was openly crying now. "I spent 8 months learning to walk again. 8 months of agony, frustration, and doubt. Physical therapists who pushed me until I wanted to quit. Doctors who weren't sure I'd ever walk normally. But I had promises to keep. Michael pulled out his phone and showed them a picture, a little girl with pigtails and a gap-toothed smile. Emma Davis. She's 8 now. Every month I send her a postcard from somewhere new. I promised her daddy I'd show her that the world is bigger than her loss. This month's postcard is from this gym. I was going to tell her about the nice people I met while working on getting stronger. Jake looked like he was going to be sick. So when you see me struggling with these exercises, understand this. I'm not here for pity. I'm not here for inspiration. I'm here because I made a promise to a dying Marine, and Marines don't break promises. The silence stretched for 30 seconds that felt like a lifetime. Then Jake did something that surprised everyone, including himself. He knelt down. "Sir," he said, his voice barely above a whisper, "I'm sorry, I didn't know." "Stand up, son." Michael's voice was gentler now. "You didn't know because you didn't ask. You saw a difference and assumed deficiency. You saw a struggle and assumed weakness." Jake stood, tears streaming down his face. "But here's the thing about Marines," Michael continued. "We believe in second chances. We believe in redemption. We believe that anyone can choose to be better than they were yesterday." Michael extended his hand. "My name is Staff Sergeant Michael Torres, United States Marine Corps. I served 3 tours in Iraq, earned 2 Purple Hearts, and I'm proud to call myself disabled. What's your name?" Jake stared at the offered hand for a moment, then took it. "Jake Morrison. I'm just a college student. I don't know anything about anything." "That's where you're wrong," Michael said, shaking Jake's hand firmly. "You know you were wrong. You know you hurt someone, and you chose to apologize. That's the first step toward becoming the man you're capable of being." Tyler and Brad stepped forward, both offering their own apologies, their own hands. Marcus, who'd been filming the entire encounter, slowly lowered his phone. "Sir," he said hesitantly, "would it be okay if, could you teach us? About respect, I mean. About what real strength looks like?" Michael looked around the gym. Every person there was watching, waiting. The woman on the elliptical was openly weeping. The older man racking weights was standing at attention, his hand over his heart. "Real strength," Michael said, his voice carrying to every corner of the room, "isn't about how much weight you can lift. It's about how much weight you can carry. It's about standing up when everything tells you to fall down. It's about protecting those who can't protect themselves." He gestured to his prosthetic. "This leg has carried me through more battles than most people will ever see. It's carried the weight of promises made to dying friends. It's carried the responsibility of honor, duty, and sacrifice. If you want to learn about real strength, start by carrying the weight of your actions." For the next hour, Michael Torres turned peak fitness into a classroom. He showed Jake proper form on the leg press, explaining how each rep was a victory against limitation. He worked with Tyler on discipline, teaching him that true strength came from consistency, not just intensity. He helped Brad understand that respect was earned through character, not muscle mass. But the most important lesson was for Marcus. "Put the phone away," Michael said. "Some moments aren't meant to be content. Some moments are meant to change you." Marcus hesitated, then powered down his device. "Real warriors don't perform for cameras," Michael continued. "They perform for duty. They perform for honor. They perform for the brothers standing beside them." As the evening wound down, Jake approached Michael one final time. "Sir," he said, using the title with genuine respect now, "is there anything we can do to make up for what we said?" Michael thought for a moment, then smiled, the first genuine smile he'd worn in weeks. "There's a veterans charity in town, Wounded Warriors Foundation. They help disabled veterans with equipment, therapy, support. They could use some young volunteers with strong backs and humble hearts." Jake nodded eagerly. "We'll be there this weekend." "And Jake," Michael added, "next Tuesday when I'm back here working on my therapy, you're welcome to join me. But understand, in this corner, rank matters. I'm the sergeant, you're the recruit. You follow my lead." "Yes, sir. Absolutely, sir." 6 months later, Peak Fitness had changed, not just the equipment or the layout, but the culture. There was a new sign by the front desk: all bodies, all stories, all welcome. Jake Morrison had lost 30 pounds of muscle and gained something far more valuable: purpose. He'd been volunteering at the Wounded Warriors Foundation every weekend, helping other disabled veterans with their rehabilitation. Tyler had started a campus organization called Respect Through Service, dedicated to community outreach and veteran support. Brad had changed his major from communications to social work, inspired by Michael's story of carrying others through their darkest moments. Marcus had deleted his TikTok account and started a blog documenting the stories of local veterans, sharing their experiences with respect and dignity. And every Tuesday at 7 p.m., Staff Sergeant Michael Torres still came to Peak Fitness for his rehabilitation routine. But now he wasn't alone. 4 young men worked alongside him, learning that real strength wasn't measured in pounds lifted, but in lives touched. The parallel bars in the corner had been renamed the Torres Station. A small plaque read, "Dedicated to all who carry the weight of sacrifice." Because sometimes the most powerful transformations happen not through force, but through truth. Sometimes the strongest people are those who've been broken and rebuilt, and sometimes the greatest victory isn't defeating your enemy, it's turning them into your allies. On his most recent postcard to Emma Davis, Michael wrote, "Dear Emma, this month I learned that your daddy's sacrifice is still changing lives. The world is full of good people who just need someone to show them the way. I'm proud to carry his memory forward, one conversation at a time. Love, Uncle Mike." Because Marines don't just fight for freedom, they fight for hope. The hope that everyone can change, grow, and become better than they were yesterday. In that gym that evening, 4 young men didn't just learn how to exercise. They learned how to live. And sometimes the greatest lessons come from the smallest moments, from a veteran's patience, from a warrior's compassion, and from the understanding that true strength always comes with kindness. Michael Torres walked home that night knowing Ryan Davis would be proud, because sacrifice doesn't just happen on battlefields. Sometimes it happens in a gym, one conversation at a time, one heart at a time. And this story continues, because every day is a new chance, every encounter is an opportunity to make a difference, and every moment is a possibility to change someone's life. If this story touched you, subscribe to Real Talk Tales and hit that like button.